guys, how's it going? Welcome back to Same Kitchen. One of the reasons that I started this channel is to share with you what I make on a daily or weekly basis for my personal diet. You know, it's nothing fancy. This week, one of the staples that I keep in the freezer has run out, so I decided to make this video. That staple is homemade noodles. I used to eat a lot of instant noodles back in the days. I had it for breakfast, had it for lunch, had it for dinner. We all know how bad it is for you, for your health. The noodles are deep fried, dehydrated, all the seasoning that goes into it, blah blah blah. Recipe I'm going to show you is super straightforward, contains just a few basic ingredients. Guarantee it's cheaper to make it than buying instant noodles. So yeah, let's get cooking. Today's recipe, we'll be making some homemade noodles. Making noodles is actually a lot simpler than what you might think. It takes 3 basic ingredients and a little bit of elbow grease. We will be making 6 portions of noodles today. The recipe requires some good old all-purpose flour, some salt and some water. And as always, we will be working with a scale to get consistent result. For 6 portions of noodles, we will need 300 grams of all-purpose flour. We will be making noodles with 2 different methods today. One with no machinery required and one with some help from a stand mixer and a pasta machine. Feel free to mix and match the methods depending on what equipment you have at home. So here, I've split the flour in half for the 2 methods. For each 150 grams of flour, we want 7 grams of salt. Next thing, give your dry ingredients a good mixy mix. After that, we will need half the weight of flour worth in water, so 75 grams of water for 150 grams of flour. Put your kettle on and boil the water, or if you're weird like me and don't own a kettle, just grab a saucepan and heat it up. Once the water is boiled, add it back into the flour, and for goodness sake, mix it with a spatula, not your hands. Give it a mix until you see your dough roughly coming together in crumble-like kind of texture, as you can see on the screen. And you can get your hands in and start pinching it together. Obviously, only get in there when it's not burning your hands anymore. Just be sensible, my friend. After kneading it for a couple of minutes, your dough should come together. Don't stress too much if it's not super smooth. We will put some work in after the dough is rested. Next, I always keep a stack of clean, used plastic bags in my drawer for dough resting, so I'm not using single-use cling wraps. Put the dough away. Squeeze out excess air in the bag and you'll put it on the side to rest for at least 20 minutes. For the second dough, I'm doing something a little bit fun here. I had some beetroot last week. I kept the skin and turned it into some pretty cool beetroot liquid. The end result is pretty awesome. So I followed the same process and same ratio. Instead of mixing with hands, if you have a stand mixer at home, it can definitely help you speed up the process and save you some sweat. It's fascinating to see how much color beetroot added to the dough. Once your dough roughly comes together, stop the mixer and knead the dough together. It should only take you a couple of minutes to put it together into a dough. Same as the previous dough, grab a plastic bag and put it aside to rest. The reason for resting the dough is to have the moisture distributed throughout the dough and rest the gluten so it's easier to work with later on. After 20 minutes of dough resting, next thing is to prep the work surface. The noodle dough is similar to pasta dough if you made it before. Very easy to work with and not the sticky type of dough. After dusting your rolling pin and your hands, grab the dough out and we want to divvy it up into 3 portions. Per portion should be about 70 to 75 grams. Your rested dough should feel like Play-Doh. If you finger it, put your finger in it, you shouldn't have too much of a bounce. Now, grab one of your portioned dough and start rolling it out. At the start of the rolling process, it's a good idea to laminate your dough a few times so it's extra smooth. Laminate is just a fancy word of folding your dough together and keep rolling. After a few laminates, you can start rolling the dough out. Because we're making noodles here, I've rolled the dough out the long way, about 1mm thickness. Once we reach the ideal thickness, the next is to cut the dough into noodles. Put your dough on a cutting board when you want to flour the front and back of the dough. Fold the dough in 2 to 3 times to a length that you're comfortable cutting with. Don't forget to flour your knife as well so they don't stick to your knife. Now, cut the noodles into your preferred width. Yes, you can decide that yourself. Flour the noodles and give it a toss. You've just made noodles with your bare hands. You should be proud. The second method is going to require a pasta machine, which I highly recommend to own one if you don't already. There are plenty secondhand ones out there on eBay or Facebook Marketplace. You really don't need a brand new one. Buy secondhand and be more sustainable. Also, it's cheaper. Roughly roll out the dough to the thickness that the pasta machine can handle. Flour both sides of the dough and start rolling it out with the machine. I normally start at setting 3 and work my way up to 5. Same as the hand method, I laminate the dough a couple of times at setting 3 to make sure that the noodle comes out smooth. When working with the pasta machine, it's important to go from lower settings and work your way up. If it feels like that you're forcing it, it's probably not right. It also applies to life in general. Once you get to setting 5, use the noodle attachment and cut it into nudes. You can be creative with the width of the noodles. I cut some really wide ones with hand to mimic bang bang noodles that is super trendy right now. You can cook the noodles fresh, they are absolutely wonderful. With the excess noodles, I like to keep them in the freezer. They last for quite a while and take up so little space. I bought these reusable freezer bags from eBay, and they are great all round for storing food while taking up minimum space. The big one I got here can store up to 2 to 3 portions. For lunch, I made one of my favorite noodles which I don't really have a name for. I boiled some water and chucked my last portion of frozen noodles in. Please don't defrost it, as it will make the noodles stick together. Once it's in hot water, stir it gently with chopsticks and it should separate pretty easily. For the sauce of the noodles, I added tahini for nuttiness, soy sauce, dash of vinegar, and some noodle water to combine it all. Mix it well and add the noodles in. Last but not the least, some chili condiment that we made a few videos back. Link up in the top right corner. As always, the cost breakdown is as below. 300 grams of all-purpose flour is about 30 cents. 7 grams of salt, 150 grams of water is almost free. Altogether, 6 portions of noodles works out to be 5 cents each. Compared to packets of instant noodles, well, you can do the math. Nothing beats some good food after hard work. And there you go. House-made noodles for you. Hope you enjoyed it. Try it at home and let me know what you think. And I'll see you next time. Thank you very much for watching.